welcome to a somber edition of the Bob Stoops app. I'm Brad McMullen along with Hall of Fame football coach Bob Stoops. The breaking news from Monday night, we lost a friend in Coach Mike Leach. Coach, I saw you on ESPN. I know you've done a lot of interviews talking about your friend, the head football coach at Mississippi State. What do you have to say about the man, not just the coach, but the man, Mike Leach?
Well, it's a difficult time for sure. And initially you go to, I don't want to talk to anybody. And then you realize, no, we need to celebrate Mike, the man he is, was the great person, the character, the great coach, and the great family man. More than anything, hope everyone will continue to keep Sharon and his children in their prayers. But Mike was an extraordinary individual, just a very cerebral guy, a guy that kind of thought out loud, as you hear all his rants and rambles, but so intelligent, just an independent thinker. That's the best way maybe you could describe him. But a great guy to be around. All of us guys who knew him well. You knew if you picked up the phone when he's calling you at midnight or 12:30 in the morning, you're like, well, if I answer, I won't be on the phone till about 2 in the morning, because there were no short conversations with Mike, which was great. And we'd talk for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and football would never come up. And that's how Mike was. Football was what he did, but he was a big, deep thinker and researcher, loved to find out about things, and then he wanted to share it with you. So that's what some of those conversations would be about late at night. He's notorious night owl, so we all the buddies that we all have worked with them and been with them, we know we all get the calls at different week or whatever day at night and pick it up at, Mike's gonna be visiting with you. So we're gonna miss those phone calls for sure.
Two stories I love from the '99 season. Number one, playing in the Cotton Bowl against Texas, and kind of give us the story. He had a play sheet that he drew up that he wanted to leave behind for Texas to find, so you had a better chance of winning.
Well, I didn't know this was happening. I found out about it like at the end of the next week, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! You guys did what? So he had drawn up, OU game plan, Texas. And he had the first like 10, 15, 20 plays that we're going to call. And, one's a reverse and it wasn't a reverse, or one's this and it wasn't that. So he had them all down, and he gave it to Trent Smith, our tight end. And he had Trent run by, whether he was running into the tunnel, leaving the field, or run by their bench area, but he was tucking it in his belt and intentionally let it slip out and fall on the ground. And he kept running and went into the tunnel up to the locker room. And somebody else was was over there watching to see if any of them picked it up. And sure enough, one of the Texas personnel, grad assistant or manager, whoever, picks it up and looks at it and looks around like, is anyone looking at me? And then he scurried up to their locker room with the fake sheet. So the bait was set. So I guess it worked, because we came out and we go up first quarter, we're up 17-0.
Yeah.
And there's one particular play, Antoine Savage is crossing underneath in an under route, and whatever they thought was coming, there wasn't anybody within 20 yards of them. So they must have been the reverse part, that they thought everything was going to the other side, and he was wide open and for a big gain there underneath. But no, that was Mike to a T.
And I was a student at the University of Oklahoma your first year, and I remember going to the Texas A&M game, and all week long, here's this top 10 A&M team that has just been so good all year, fighting for a major bowl game, and here's OU. And all of a sudden we line up in this ninja offense, this set, kind of describe it. You had receivers on either side, and everyone's looking at each other going, can you do this? And it was touchdown Oklahoma, touchdown Oklahoma, touchdown Oklahoma. I was like, somebody needs to get Josh Heupel some ice, because he keeps throwing too many touchdown passes.
It was. We put our tackles out, and they're on the line of scrimmage. They're just split out 25 yards. And all we had in the middle were the center and 2 guards and the quarterback and 1 back. But the receivers were out wide with the tackles. So we could throw a screen out there, either way, or we could, if they were too thin inside, we could hand the ball off inside. And we were working it, both the screens, the runs, and I had actually seen it before with Coach Spurrier back at Florida, but no one else had seen it before. And so Mike starts working it, and it's working brilliantly. I really believe also that day that's where everything turned for us, I believe. Early in the year, I said we were up 17-0 against Texas. We end up losing. We were up 17 or 16-0 against Notre Dame early in the year. We end up losing. This game, I remember giving our guys a little talk ahead of the game that we're not doing this anymore. When we get up, we're staying up. Nobody's laughing. No one's giggling. Game's not over until we finish it. And sure enough, we get up and keep getting up and keep getting up. We run a fake punt to Seth Luttrell. Patrick Fletcher saves my rear end on a fake field goal.
Good job, Pat.
By scrambling and making a first down on a fake field goal. We score a touchdown a few plays later, and it just kept rolling. And remind you now, A&M was defending Big 12 champs.
Yes. They
had been whipping our butt. The scores were pretty big previous few years.
Yeah. And
it was our homecoming. One of our buses broke down from Oklahoma City coming into the game. We had to pile all instead of two buses, we all piled on one bus. Got to the game, and we go on a tangent. What was it, 51-6? It was terrible about scores.
It was one of the most dominant performances I've seen in a long, long time. I mean, it was just a spectacular game because it was, as you said, a defending conference champion, loaded with NFL talent, expected to come to Norman and win big, and it was the complete opposite of what happened.
Yeah, and again, that's where I've always felt that 99 team has every bit a hand in the national championship as anybody, as the other guys, because to me, that's where we turned the page and that we were back. I know we didn't end up finishing the year perfectly, but that set the stage for it. I felt we had learned how to win and finish games.
I had the privilege of working in Jackson, Mississippi for many years in television and radio, and had a chance to interview Hal Mumme. And he was talking about how confident Mike Leach was. That you may see him on TV or think that, oh, he's kind of aloof, he's kind of this. He said he would go into every recruiting battle thinking he could win every recruiting battle. And let's talk about that first class that you had at the quarterback position.
Yep.
Josh Heupel, Nate Hibble, Rose Bowl MVP, Jason White, Heisman Trophy. I mean, you had some pretty good quarterbacks on that team.
Josh Heupel's the AP Player of the Year and runner-up in the Heisman Trophy.
Should have won.
And Nate Hibble, as you said, Rose Bowl MVP and Big 12 champion quarterback. Jason White may be the most decorated quarterback we have, if that's possible, but he is. So anyway, these guys, Mike, and they all came here because of the offense Mike was going to run and Mike, both of it. But as you said, Mike was an incredibly confident guy. And he doesn't like to show that maybe so much, but I guess he does, because anyone that can get up in front of a camera and have a 5-minute rant about weddings and getting prepared for a wedding or Halloween candy, whatever it may be, just pull them up, folks. They're the absolute best. And that's just a little taste of what I'd be listening to at 1 a.m, just in a different subject. But, so that I guess does show the confidence that he's his own guy. And, when a lot of people may use that term a little loosely, he's his own man or he's one of a kind, that's Mike. He's one of a kind, and he was his own man, period. And he didn't care what anyone else thought as much as anyone I've been around. He going to do what he wants to do in his way. And if you don't like it, get out of the way.
And one of the comments yesterday is they said if he knew a play worked, he would keep running it until they stopped it. I mean, I love that, right? Hey, this is still working. Why are we going to change it?
Absolutely. And he was very, the beauty of Mike's offense and how Mumme, the two of them, designed this is they're going to do what they can do, period, better than you can defend it. And there's other people want to add plays to it, and they're like, no. Like, he'll agree with you. That is a great play that they're running. It's a great play. I love it, but not for us. It's for them. So he was going to do his deal. He's not going to bring other stuff in. And I was emphatic when I hired Mike with the rest of the coaching staff that I'm not blending offenses. We're going to do what Mike wants to do, period. And that's it. And we're going to do it great and do it well. And that's how it came about.
Now, all these bowl games, conference championships, all of the big things that have happened at Oklahoma football. When you came in 1999, things were not very good. It had been over 5 years since Oklahoma had actually even appeared in a bowl game. What did you do to recruit him away from Kentucky, where he was having great success, to get him to come to Oklahoma, where, I hate to say it, the Sooners were struggling?
Well, I think Mike, as I did, the reason I came as a head coach, I knew the brand. I knew what this brand has been for decades and what it could be again. And Mike, at Kentucky, Hal Mumme was actually calling the plays. So I don't think Mike ever got credit for, it's also his offense, but because he had been Hal Mumme's protege. And so everyone just felt it was Hal. And my point to Mike and selling point was, you come here, you're your own guy. You're going to run it all, and you're going to get all the credit and attention for it. Because everyone's going to know I'm not the one calling the plays. So point being, I told him, literally, I said, you come here 2, 3, 4 years, we do well, you'll have a head coaching job. It took 9 months, 1 year. Yeah. So, and then he did a great job at Texas Tech. And
an unbelievable job at Texas Tech.
Fantastic.
I mean, they went from a lukewarm program to a red-hot program under his leadership.
With a lot of big wins. I saw something the other day. He got more top 10 wins against top 10 teams as an unranked team than anybody ever since the polls came out. He, in his 21 years, was in 19 bowl games. So Mike was a great coach. Loved competed against him. Even though, and that never got in the way of our friendship. We always talked ahead and after games, and even during the week, phone calls. Was a dear friend, and anyway, so like I said, that never got in the way of our friendship. The fact that we were competing against each other. In fact, one game at Tech, we're beating them late in the fourth quarter, and Mike was so stubborn. He's notoriously stubborn. Also, he didn't change his signals. So we're sitting over there calling out the plays because he had the same signals when he was with us. So we're like, that's 92, that's 95, that's 30 base, our run that Quentin scored the national championship. So we're calling out to the defensive guys, 92, that's the mesh play that notoriously, whatever. And the receiver over there looks over at me, and I don't know who was with me. He said, Coach, why you guys got to keep calling out all our plays? I said, tell your coach to change his signals.
That's hilarious. All right, so when
he changed them the next year.
He changed them. I guarantee that. So when the call came in that he was being interviewed by Texas Tech, what did you say to the Tech people? Like, you've got a gold mine in this guy.
Absolutely. Anyone that knows me has worked for me. I'm all for my guys getting head coaching jobs and want them to. My only advice sometimes is, you sure you want that one? Like, because there
are better jobs.
You don't always get a second chance, so be careful which one you pick. But I thought Tech was an excellent job. I felt Mike was a great fit. So when I thought, oh, geez, I bragged on him. I wanted him to get it. I hated the fact that I was going to have to deal with him, after he got the job. But I'm just not that guy that's, just going to look at just us or just me. I thought for he and his family, Sharon and their children, like, this is a good job for Mike, and he did great there.
And for all the success that he had, and you mentioned this, he won more games as an unranked opponent versus a top 10 opponent than any other head coach in the history of college football. But he did this at Washington State, at Texas Tech, and at Mississippi State. He didn't do it at Oklahoma or Alabama or USC or Notre Dame or Michigan. He elevated programs because of his intelligence.
Absolutely. And look at the influence around the country with coaches, with guys Lincoln Riley, Dana Holgerson, Sonny Dykes, Cliff Kingsbury, Josh Heupel, one of his proteges. I mean, on and on. Even the guys at the Heisman. You've got Sonny Dykes there, and Lincoln Riley, his influence, and Josh Heupel, I guess. Tennessee guy was maybe 4th or 5th. I'm not sure. Hooker, right?
Yep.
So, that's tells you right there the influence. When he went to Tech, it spread all through the high schools out throughout Texas. That offense did. And now it's even infiltrated up into the NFL, not just college football.
Yeah, mismatches. Mike Leach, one-of-a-kind individual. And there's no poetic justice to say this, but the fact that his final game as a head football coach, he was an underdog against a top 15 arch rival in the Ole Miss Rebels, and he won that football game.
Yeah, and you always knew Mike had a shot. I don't care who he's playing. They get hot and he gets hot with his play calling. They always have a chance. And again, his record shows that through 21 years of coaching. So just a great friend, great person, and we're all going to miss him. And again, prayers for Sharon and their children.
Yeah, tremendous impact, not just on the University of Oklahoma and other schools that he coached at, but on the sport of college football, and most importantly, on the lives of countless thousands of people that he's impacted over the years.
Yeah. Now again, there's all us buddies and people, all us coaching fraternity. We've all been calling each other, and even people who didn't coach directly with them, like a lot of us did. The guys that only had an interaction once a year at maybe a coaches meeting, are devastated and talking. And remember, Dan McCarney called me yesterday, who just was around a few years in a row at coaches meetings. We had Big 12 meetings, and he had 5 stories to talk to me about, just about Mike. And anyhow, he's going to be really missed.
And a guy beloved, obviously, by the news media. Last week, not 2 years ago, last week, Mississippi State beat writers were having a Christmas party, and guess who showed up to say hi? Mike Leach.
Yeah, no surprise. Yeah, and you talk about some great quotes, interviews, and TV rants. And when you say rant, it's a good rant. It's a fun-loving rant, which everybody loved to listen to him. And for the last couple of days, I've listened to 6 or 7 of them. So it's breaks your heart.
Yeah, 56,000 applications to get in his class when he was a professor at Washington State. That just tells you something. They knew they were going to be entertained and learned a lot. All right, another big story. This guy coached him in a bowl game last year. Caleb Williams won the Heisman Trophy last Saturday night. No surprise, because Caleb Williams was a consistent player all year round, and he helped elevate the Trojans to a big year.
No question about it. You could see did a great job here at OU the year before, but you could see the maturity a year later,
yes.
And of course under Lincoln's tutelage. But he really grew as a person, as a player. You could just tell. Just seeing the field, more confident in his throws. Kind of going off schedule on a lot of plays. With his ability to run and scramble. He's such a big, thick, strong guy. He's hard to get down.
Yeah.
And you could tell this year he really got confidence being out of the pocket, making more throws, more plays, either running or even throwing the ball. So. Good for him. He certainly deserved it. It was no surprise. I felt he had it locked up going into the last week, and the last week he hurts his hamstring and still fought his way through a heck of a game. So
that showed a lot about his perseverance, where he got hurt at the very beginning of that game, and he wasn't coming out. He was going to try to do everything he could to help his team win. Unfortunately for Caleb Williams, he was not able to win that conference title. But he was able to bring home the Heisman Trophy. We're hoping for a speedy recovery for him, though. Hopefully he can be at full tilt for the bowl game, possibly.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be close. Hamstrings don't always heal the best. So who knows? I don't know the extent of it. But fortunately, their game's a little bit later. So he'll have an extra maybe week, for that to heal up. So, I would imagine he'll go, would be my guess. And maybe limit how much he has to run the ball.
All right, prime time Deion Sanders is now at a prime Power 5 conference. That's right, he's in the Pac-12. He's at Colorado now as the head coach after an undefeated season at Jackson State University. How do you think Deion is going to do at Colorado?
Truth be told, I can't wait to see it. It's interesting. He doesn't have your traditional, I guess, college background. He has a great pro background, as good as there is, and of course college too at Florida State. So it'll be interesting. I guess it's just the fact that I know he's been at Jackson State now a few years, But other than that, there isn't college
No.
coaching experience or whatnot. So, but anyway, if anyone can do it, you would think it would be him, just with the great background in football that he has, well, and in baseball for that matter, a competitor that he's been. You know, and obviously, you know, name recognition. You know, he's got that superstar name. So it'll be it's going to be interesting to watch and fun to watch.
And the Colorado teams that you had to compete with were really, really good. The Colorado teams, unfortunately, for the last 10 years, not been very good. He's got a real big rebuilding process to go through.
Oh, sure, I'm sure they do, but again, I believe he'll do it, and I believe he'll attract recruits, but he'll also attract good quality coaches, because none of us do it alone. I guess we get too much of the credit sometimes, but you got to have good assistants with you, you know, to keep building it. And I'm sure he'll attract those.
Yeah, he's doing phenomenally well on the recruiting trail right now. So something to watch definitely as the years go on. All right, CFP will expand in 2024 with 12 teams, with the Rose Bowl coming on. We look at the final 4 teams that were selected. Do you think they got it right with Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU 3, and Ohio State 4?
I truly do. That's how I would have ranked them. And, you know, so I think they're going to be really good games. So, yeah, I'd like to where it all set up. I guess some people you might have been able to switch TCU and Ohio State, but you don't want Ohio State and Michigan playing right back-to-back games.
I agree with
and that. And again, too, TCU shouldn't be penalized for losing a tight game in a championship game, while Ohio State...
By this much, literally stretching the ball out by this much.
And Ohio State was sitting at home drinking coffee. So, to me, that's how it should be.
Yeah, I agree. And for the people that were pushing for Alabama had a great year, but they had 2 losses. And they were very inconsistent. When you looked at that Texas A&M game and that loss at Tennessee, you're sitting there going, I can't push them in. And then with Tennessee, without Hooker being able to play quarterback for the bowl game, I know you're not supposed to think like that, but you want to have the best 4 teams right now playing in the game.
Yeah, no, I feel that was to me, that was the right way to put them. That's how I would have as well. And you know, when you have 2 losses, you have nothing. You shouldn't have a whole lot to say. I mean, that's just the way it breaks.
Yep, that's it. All right, well, we're going to talk and break down all the big bowl games next week, so get ready for that one, and we'll be talking a lot about the Cheez-It Bowl, the cheesiest bowl game of them all in Orlando. Can't wait for that one, and of course, breaking down all the other big bowl games across the way. Remember, for videos anytime, just click on our video link. For Hall of Fame football coach Bob Stoops, I'm Brad McMullen.